Good evening. We have news tonight about houses and foreclosures in America, and it's not the news any of us wanted to hear. We learned today that more than 100,000 homes were repossessed by banks just in September, and that's more than any other month in American history. And there are those burning questions. What about the banks that foreclosed on houses without reading the documents? And were some of the people doing this outsourced jobs overseas? David Muir has been investigating all of this today. He's here now.
Diane, if ever there was a telling sign over the concern about all this, just look at the stock market today. Investors pulling money out of the big banks. A big sign, growing concerns over how the banks have taken back millions of homes in this country.
Tonight, growing fury over just how the banks went about it. First word of those so-called robo-signers, bank workers signing off on foreclosure paperwork they never read. One worker admitting he signed off on 10,000 homes a month. And now we learn it went even further, overseas. In this deposition by the Florida Attorney General's office, an employee at a law firm hired by the banks was asked about the paperwork. Instead of doing it here in his office, they would do it in Guam or the Philippines? Correct.
Some of the paperwork that's been used to process foreclosure cases has been outsourced and is being produced in Guam and the Philippines. It's then being emailed or shipped overnight, is being submitted in courtrooms all across the country.
Two major banks, Citigroup and GMAC, have said they no longer use that law firm. And then there was this, a homeowner in Orlando who wasn't even in foreclosure when contractors hired by the bank showed up to knock down the door anyway.
I just know somebody broke into my house.
Did they kick the door in? How did he get the door open? Do you know?
I don't know.
JP Morgan Chase has now admitted they made a mistake.
They're intoxicated with power and it's wild. It's the Wild West.
He says the same banks that once sloppily sold billions of dollars in mortgages have now pushed through foreclosures just as quickly and some just as recklessly. And why haven't the banks hired more experienced workers to deal with this? Foreclosures aren't a moneymaker.
You're not making any more money. Now they're finding out that they really should have, because it's going to end up costing them even more money for having done this in such a shoddy way in the first place.
And now we're left with a housing market at a standstill on both sides. Homeowners like Nancy Luna in limbo.
I don't know if they're moving forward in foreclosure or they're moving forward with the loan modification.
And home buyers are in limbo too. Just look at one zip code in Florida. The foreclosed homes for sale, but now on hold, along with the recovery in neighborhoods across this country.
What a shot.
Yes,
what a number.
758 homes in just one zip code. So telling. But it's not just the housing market, Diane, as you know. It's the banking industry now. Big questions about how much of the bill they're going to have to foot if these foreclosures were not only shoddily done, but were criminal, too. That's the investigation.
Well, as you said, David, the outrage is building. And so we decided to go to the big banks and ask them to sit down with us and answer just some of the simple questions. How did this happen? And what are they going to do about it? We phoned and emailed the top 6 banks embroiled in the mortgage mess. All of them declined our request, but we are going to keep trying.